This shop did $160,000 in just a month selling AI art on t-shirts. And I know that because it's my store. And I've been talking about it a lot for the past 6 months since we started it back in July, documenting and sharing everything along the way. But there's been a lot of changes recently as new versions of Midjourney have just been released, and honestly, it's never been a better time to start this kind of business since it's such an untapped business model still to this day. Not only that, but print on demand as an industry is expected to grow 10x over the next 8 to 9 years, meaning we are still in the infancy and it is never too late to get started. And the best part is that you can get started from literally anywhere in the world with just a laptop and a couple $100. And the process is honestly pretty simple, just a lot of people overcomplicate things. What we're going to be using is a image generator called Midjourney, which is $10 to get started, but it basically takes our text prompts and turns them into designs that we are then able to put onto t-shirts and sell them to our end customer. And we use a service called Profitability, which prints, packs, and ships all of our orders to the end customer. And different than all of the other Etsy print-on-demand tutorial videos you've seen out there where they say just put designs on Etsy and hope for the best, we're not doing that. We put our designs on our very own Shopify store, so we own all of the traffic. We have all the customer data, and we're building a real asset for ourselves so that at the end of the day, not only do we have the nice cash flow from running the business, but we also have something that's worth 2 to 3x on our profit, aka the amount that we could sell the business for. And this used to be a pretty complicated process, but since nowadays AI can handle a lot of the heavy lifting for us, it makes it one of the best side hustles that we can start. But before we just go out making a bunch of random artwork that probably won't sell, let's take a quick look at exactly how much we can expect to make from this business. And we're gonna be doing that by looking at my P&L. So here we are in my Shopify sales dashboard. I'm going to refresh it so that everybody knows it's legit. We did $160,390.73 in December. We did that with an average order value of $44.23. We sent 102,000 sessions to the site. We had a conversion rate of 3%. And if you're running your own store, you can shoot for metrics that are in this ballpark. But keep in mind that they're not always going to be exactly the same. And it's okay if you have a slightly lower conversion rate, say for example, if you have a slightly higher average order value. The most important thing is what we call our earnings per session. Earnings per session is the amount that we're making as just a formula per session to the store. So right now we could figure out pretty easily that our earnings per session, out of 100 people we send to the site, 3 people are converting, which means 3 purchases, and then each person is spending an average of $44. So to use easy numbers, it'd be 3 times 44, which means that we have an earnings per session of $1.32, which then tells us for our advertising that if we are spending $1.32 per click, then we are at break even. We want to be much better than break even. We want to be double or triple that. We had 3,356 orders and a returning customer rate of 9.6%. Now, and a caveat to all of these numbers you're seeing here is that obviously it's during the holiday season. So these are not typical numbers. Like obviously at the beginning of the month, we started off extremely strong, doing anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000 per day. And then things quickly jumped off a freaking cliff as we reached the shipping threshold. And we started telling our customers transparently that if you order by this date, you cannot expect to get your order in time for Christmas, which you have to do that. Some people don't because they're unethical and they don't care about the experience for their customers, but we do. Moving on to our products sold. During December, we sold 7,732 products. Now, 2,300 of those were the shipping insurance product. So more realistically, it's about 5,400 t-shirts, which is still a lot of t-shirts if you think about it. Like that would be more than enough to fill this entire room. So it's pretty crazy to think about sometimes. And so next metric for us to look at is Printify, which that is our fulfillment provider who prints and packs all of those 5,400 shirts and sends them to our end customer. So when we work with Printify, they send us invoices at the end of every month, breaking down how much we paid them throughout the course of that month. They separate those invoices based on countries because they have to for tax purposes. But you can see our US invoice here was $31,460.38. Some of our other invoices are down here, like Canada. We paid $4,000 $48.89, $539.16. Australia, another $7,500, and the list goes on and on. But the important number for us to know is our overall. The overall amount that we paid to Printify was $75,690.51. And here's an example breakdown for you of one of our Printify invoices. We had a shipping cost of $10,016. We paid $742 in sales tax, which with Printify, if you prove to them that you are collecting your own state sales tax, then they will stop charging it to you. It's honestly weird that they charge it to us as a merchant, which that could be a whole separate video, but basically you have to register to collect your own state sales tax in the United States, and once you do that, then they'll stop charging you. And I wouldn't recommend doing this right out of the gate because it is a huge headache, but once you're actually like doing consistent sales, it's a quick way to save 4 to 5% on your cost of goods. So we had $20,701.66 in production costs in the United States, plus $10,016.20 for shipping costs. Kind of interesting that shipping cost is that high. It's a third of our overall expenditure. And we get slightly lower production costs from Printify because we're on Printify Premium, which you can get a free trial of that by clicking the link in the description below. But basically it gives you the cheapest cost that Printify has to offer. So if you're considering selling on Printify, I highly recommend doing the Printify Premium. It just makes a ton of sense. You make it back within 5 shirts sold. So it's definitely worth the money. And like I said, you can get a free trial down below. On to my favorite part of the entire business is the advertising. So in the month of December, I'll refresh this again so everyone knows that it's legit. We spent $51,988.74, and our total ROAS was a 2.4. Then our email and SMS flows did an additional $23,839.43 in our Klaviyo account. And our Google ads absolutely crushed. We spent $1.6K for 8.5, which is a ROAS of 5.3, which is far and above our Facebook ad results. But the reason for this is that the majority of these sales come from people that had already visited our site, and then we're retargeting them on Google. It's not, oh, I should just run Google ads instead of Facebook. It's Google ads did well because we had so many Facebook ads running. It's like a chicken or the egg thing. I don't know if I'm using that, but you need Facebook ads in order for the Google ads to do well, in my experience. Last but not least, our total profit for the month of December was $24,634.04, which is pretty good, except that it's down slightly from our November number, but can't complain too much. So let's take a look at what happened and what were some of the biggest differences from the month before. Starting off with our revenue, we gave away $9,042.76 in discounts. We did an additional $3,839.78 in returns, which that's from people who ordered and then realized that they weren't going to get it in time for Christmas. A lot of companies would just say tough luck, but for us, we want our customers to have an amazing experience every time. One, because it's the most ethical way of doing business, but two, it makes you the most money in the long term. Good karma definitely is a thing and comes back around. And we collected $1,079 in sales tax. This is an important thing to track because if you're collecting sales tax, that does just get deposited into your own bank account, and then it's up to you to track that amount and realize that's not really your money. You have to remit that money to the states, and if you don't, then you get in big trouble. So you have to give this money back to the states. So considering all of those things and not considering the tax collected gave us a total sales of $159,310. Then we had $2,682.42 in Printify refunds, which that's just our 5% back on our cost of goods sold that I've talked about before. Then we use a Capital One 2% cash back card, which gives us an additional $1,629.64. We spent just under $52,000 on Facebook ads, and our grand total Printify invoice was $75,690. We spent roughly $1,600 on Google ads and $0 on TikTok. Our PayPal fees were $1,465.23, along with our Shopify fees of $5,244.48. There we go, a lot of numbers. Total expenses were $135,988.96 plus a little bit of overhead, which is $3,000, which gives us a total net profit of $24,634.04, or a net margin of $15.46. So, a lot of numbers. Let's break it down. Something important to note that's interesting, as this may sound like a lot of numbers, a lot of expenses, sounds super overwhelming. Our only overhead expenses right now are this. It's about $3,000 a month, which when we first started, we try to keep this number at a 2% or less than our overall sales. So if we're doing $100K a month, we want it to be at $2,000. If we're doing $50K a month, we want it to be at $1,000. And so right now we're at 163. We're at $3,000. So that's a little under 2%. It's 1.8. So the rest of the expenses are variable expenses, meaning we only incur them when we actually make sales. The one exception being ads. We are spending hoping to make sales, but the good thing is that we're getting very quick feedback in our ads manager. So if something is going wrong, then we're able to easily turn ads off before we suffer too bad of a loss. But I'll say this, that has not happened at all during the course of this store. Like, it has been running. I check the ads every 2 to 3 days, and that's about it. Now you're probably wondering, how do I make stores like this so consistently that just generate 6 figures every month in print-on-demand sales? Unlike Etsy stores where you're putting up hundreds of designs and like hoping that you get sales, this is pretty consistent. You put up 50 to 100 designs and you just start making money. Now, it is not easy by any means. It took me 7 years to be able to say that I can put up 50 to 100 designs and just start making 6 figures a month. But my goal of this channel is to decrease that amount of time from 5 to 7 years for you guys to 6 to 12 months. And you can learn the things that we're covering on this channel, and you can ask me your questions, and we can go through the process here together. And the high level process that I follow is what you see here. It's with the one missing piece being the niche and the designs right before this, which we've done whole separate videos on that. But basically, we're picking a niche that passes the bumper sticker test. And the bumper sticker test is, if you've seen a topic on the back of somebody's car, it's probably a topic that they would buy a t-shirt for. And so a perfect example of that is like Yoga Stay, that I've shown previously that I built and sold. Built it to 7 figures and then sold it to Open Store, are like the perfect niches because it's something that a lot of people are passionate about and a lot of people would wear it and to show that they're passionate about it. Another good one is like coffee, for example. Coffee stuff everywhere. Or basically any niche that you see doing well on Amazon or Etsy in the print-on-demand space can probably do well on its own on a Shopify store. And again, the reason we do a Shopify store is that we're able to build our own email list, build our own asset, and eventually sell it like I did with Yoga Stay. So the first thing is the niche. Second thing is the designs. And what I would recommend with that is looking at all the top selling designs out there on Amazon and Etsy and Pinterest, seeing what are the commonalities between them, and then using an AI tool such as Midjourney in order to recreate those types of designs. Even using Midjourney and the tutorials that I put out there on that, it can be a long process and it can be challenging, which is why we're making an AI tool specifically for print on demand, so that you can literally just type in like the niche that you want, and it's been trained on what make the top selling designs. So you don't even have to do your own research. You don't have to worry about prompt engineering or any of that. You just enter in like the type of design you want, like yoga, and it comes up with concepts for you, and it's trained on what's going to work well. And then you can remove the background, upscale the image, vectorize, generate the titles, descriptions, tags, everything you need, and then export it, and you're pretty much ready to go. So if you're interested in that, once it launches, it's taken an ungodly amount of time, but I'm really proud of it. I think it's going to be great. You guys are going to love it, hopefully. If you want to try it, you can click the link in the description below to try it out, and I'll let you know once it launches. All right, but back to the process. So we have phase 0, which is the niche research and coming up with the designs, 50 to 75 designs, and then you put them on a nice clean mock-up, even like Printify's default mock-up. And if you want a more detailed breakdown on how to pick the niche and make your first designs, you can watch this video over here, which is a super detailed 1.5 hour long Shopify setup tutorial that I did. That tutorial covers this process in a lot more depth. But this is basically, at a high level, how do we make sure our site converts and we have a high average order value. And next is our email and SMS. This is our email flow. So making sure that when we send traffic to the site, that we are getting the most bang for our buck, that we have email flows that are following up with people who abandoned cart, who bought for the first time, and we're trying to get them to leave a review and trying to get them to make user-generated content. And it sounds like it can be complex, but it's great. It's one of my favorite parts because once you set it up once, you pretty much never have to touch it again. It's amazing. And it just compounds for you. And you know that all the traffic you're sending, you're just capitalizing on it like again and again. It's awesome. Next is the marketing assets, which I cover this, and I cover the next 4 steps actually in the detailed Facebook ads training. So this is just getting together your marketing assets, making sure you have your Facebook page, your business manager, ad account, your pixel, and then the images you're going to use for your ads, making sure you have all of those together. Then setting up your testing campaign and analyzing the results that you get initially. Then last but not least, once you're putting in $1, getting $2 to $3 back, how do we scale that up? So you're putting in $1 million, getting $2 to $3 million back. So this is the playbook right here. And you can get this, again, by clicking the link in the description. A lot of links in the description. But yeah, it's down there. It's for free. I hope you guys find it extremely useful. It took me a long time to put that together, like years to learn that stuff. This is one of the tools that I'm hoping will decrease the amount of time it takes you from 5 to 7 years for me to 6 to 12 months for you guys. So be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and see if we are able to reach the 7 figures in 12 months. It's going to be here before we know it. It's time to start cracking. And like I said, Q1 is one of the best times, not because it's just 2024, but because the CPMs, the cost per 1,000 impressions, are cheaper than ever on Facebook. So it's a great time to be running ads. So be sure to stay tuned for next week's video where I'm going to show our ad strategy for Q1 and how things are going. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.